an icon up there. It'll be from all the different platforms. All
Oh,
right, let's
I don't
well,
see
let
an
me.
icon.
Is there a are there any icons there? Can you see?
On the right side of the screen, there is like just a notification. Oh, it says messages from all the audience will display here on the right side.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've had a little. I did my first show yesterday, and it took a while to get off the ground. So let me see. Let me make sure this thing's working. How about that? Let's
All
see.
right.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I saw your show yesterday. That at least portions of it, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's great.
yeah. Yeah, it was. It was real cool because that dude, Lavelle Zimmerman, when I came out, like on social media, it was like in 2012, and he was like the first dude I ran into that I was like I could resonate with because I had an awakening experience. So obviously everything gets thrown up in the air, and you have a higher vantage point, you might say, and masculine, feminine, the whole 9 yards. And here's this dude who's he's into lyrics, and he's a hell of a rapper and
Hmm.
writer and performer and artist, and he was doing all this production. I'm like, holy crap! And he was like, if you ever go to his page, like today on Sundays, he does like a like this. He just does this monologue, right?
Yeah,
And it's incredible. He's been doing it for years. And if you see where he lives, you can
yeah,
see his feminine energy, man. Like
yeah,
color and class and panache, and. So
yeah,
anyway, it was an honor to have him on.
yeah,
Um, on the
definitely.
first show, let me take these old man glasses off. So let's roll out this second episode. This one is called Kevin Holtz, episode 002 on this new initiative. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you here. I found him in the flow. I went to his page. He was naked, hugging a tree. So I was like, okay. And I want to go to his page in a second because there was something I saw on his page that I want to share in a bit. But anyway, it's nice to see some young blood in the game. It's nice to feel the energy. It's nice to see it from a masculine who's not afraid to show his softness. And so it's a pleasure. Let me welcome you to your program, Kevin Holtz. Uh, we're gonna talk and open our hearts
Mhm.
and go deep if necessary. And you're welcome to ask me anything you want to. It's just it's not an interview; it's a conversation. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, Todd, I've been watching you for years, and it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be with you and in the heart space as masculines together. A lot of people need this now, and a lot of people are looking forward to this and these get-togethers. So, yeah, the honor's mine too, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, on that topic, I started a men's group in 1st of January. So 4 sessions, 4 group sessions, 2 each Saturday. And I've done 3 rounds of it. And so when I put the post up, there's also, I see these younger feminine, like, in your age bracket, like 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
And they got some dope code to land on you too. And so
Hmm.
I put the post up, and this one said, and I can't remember her name because there's like 3 of them. I get them all mixed up. They got the same vibe. She said, um, "Yeah, like this is good. It's time." Uh, she said something like, "He doesn't even know what it is, and the feminine doesn't even know what it is." I'm like, "Wow, okay, this is where we're at. Nobody knows."
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been in the awareness of the knowing of it, and this has been a long time coming. As you know, we've been in such a state of, well, confusion and in all of the illusions. And as everyone wakes up even more and embodying that golden light in their heart again, we're going to be opening a lot more together as a whole.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. And you don't have to answer anything, if it goes too personal or something you don't want to talk about. But
Yeah.
that's for the whole time. Um,
I'm
But
open.
like, yeah, I can tell. You live in Reno, right? So you're in California.
Yeah,
Uh,
Reno, Lake Tahoe area. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So like, I mean, coming out, in the middle of all this, we're now 12 years into this as a whole. Let's just say 2012 is the line in the sand or whatever. We know for some people it's shorter period, and some people it's a longer period. But the
Hmm.
cool thing about what's happening is it doesn't matter how long ago you woke up per se. Everybody's got all the code available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a whole evolutionary quantum leap kind of thing, and the humans are going, "What the hell?" But
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
but as a young man, coming through it, like, what are your reflections? I know when I first came into the scene, it was about empaths, the divine feminine, of course, ascension, that type of thing, and then some of the subcategories, chakras, all this different stuff. But for
Mhm.
you, what were the major things? Like, was it, is it the talk about the masculine, the feminine, the sacred union, the ascension, and such?
Yeah. For me, it's been a whole life process. It hasn't been like 12 years, 10 years. It's been my whole life. And I,
Mm,
I realized I was actually an awoken person since my birth and
mm,
all even through childhood and school and all of that. And I just wasn't seeing that anyone else was.
mm,
So for me, I was in the world, going through it like as this light and always positive towards friends and people, you know, sharing that. And then as I grew older, I realized even more that a lot of adults were not there either. So being a young guy, there was a lot of, people in the older generations than me. Uh, they definitely were the people that I was communicating with
mm,
because there was nobody my age group at the time for me to communicate with that was actually, fully in their expression out of their heart. And so I went through that whole journey of toughness, right? To, you know, connect back to the people that actually do resonate with me, aka soul family, which
right,
is not an age. We all
right.
come from source. It's just that remembrance and awareness that we have to come to. And I've spent the latter portion of my entire life just always spreading love and kindness and compassion wherever I can to help others, to help people remember, even if it's
Mm,
just a little thing that changes their day. The little things add up. And I spent a big portion also when I was younger dealing with a lot of the darker energies and entities coming along too. And uh, over the recent years, I've really saw that other people dealt with it too, yet they did not express it or explain it because most of the time they got shunned for that. There was some sort of shame. But as I woke up, even more, I would say, up in my big, like, true, I would say, awakening into the higher spiritual realms of things and expansion, like you were talking about, was about when I was 16, because I really started to realize that everything was synchronized, everything was synchronistic. And so I opened up to more paths of, traveling down different roads to figure out what that meant.
mm. So let me ask you this, because you're right. It's not a linear thing, right?
No.
How did you how did you integrate um, those negative energies, those dark entities, or whatever they were when you were younger? How did you smooth that out?
Yeah, I accepted them. I All I ever saw from my heart was another hurt being or another hurt soul. And even what people like to call demons, things of darker nature, whatever, they're all still of love and they're all still there for a purpose. And we have to accept that. And once we do, we move on from them and
Mm.
from it, including those thoughts in our head.
Yeah, it's more like we take them with us and we leave those thoughts back there, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. You
false
leave them
part of it.
behind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it. I've had my experiences over the years with with that, and I came to the quick conclusion, I'd say like 4 years into it, that basically we're integrating everything. It's
Yeah.
all information, it's all code, and what we
Yeah.
do with it, you know, is kind of what we're chasing. Like, how do you, how are you awakening so fast and function at life at the same time? So at some level, they have to come
Yeah.
into congruence. You know what I mean? So to
Yeah.
listen to you at your age, and your story, because we've heard a lot of people over the years on the old podcast, and they would say I was born this way,
Yep.
and from there, pretty much the story's similar, not
Yep.
linear wise,
Yeah.
but overall. And yeah, to get to a point where you've got 80-year-old, 70-year-old, 60 years, 3-year-old here, 50, 40, 30, 20, and it's all over the place now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
read about it. You might run into it like on a show like this or something.
Hmm.
Are you seeing more people in your age bracket? Are you connecting with people that are at the frequency you're at?
I would say that now is the time that they are really going deeper into their own personal self healing. And so now, yes, they are expanding more and I'm able to reach them more. I
Mm.
used to not be able to reach them at all. Most people my age were caught up in drugs or alcohol and partying. So I wasn't. I actually ended that early in my life. When I was like 18, I stopped doing any of that stuff and stayed sober. So I was in a whole different world. And then I had a daughter at 22. So I stayed out of those scenes, and um, that was a choice. I watched everyone else go down some pretty rough paths and
Mm.
choose to keep partying, choose to keep doing all that other stuff. But I still loved them. I still sent them love. I was still kind, still spread the awareness and love. But I wasn't seen all the time.
Mm.
But
Mm.
now I would say that's changed. Since we've gone through this rapid shift and timeline shift now, many actually, not just one,
True.
but it's been rapid. But the layers are peeling off, right? So more and more people my age are actually there. We're waking up into that now, where, wow, it doesn't matter the age. Everyone's just starting to see.
When would you say this rapid, the rapid shifting started? Would you say it started with COVID?
Well, definitely that was a time that was a big trigger.
Did you get triggered? Did you get triggered by it?
No, no,
No.
actually, it was a great time for me. I did the same thing. I went into nature, got naked, had fun. I did the same thing I always do. And the funny part about that was everyone was in their houses and nobody was in nature. And I'm like, and I had it all to myself. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like, but
I'm
I did wish that more people were out there. And then the people that I did see out there had a mask on. And I'm like, you guys, it's time to breathe the fresh air. It's time to breathe the earth and the elements and take it all in.
Did you feel like an alien on a faraway planet?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or I mean, in recent times, I've said, they've been the aliens and I've been the one that's actually like centered and present.
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, we're all meant to be here. We're all family. We're all one. We're all in unity, and we're meant to be. And we're supposed to operate that way, in that harmony and balance. And as you know, the whole duality thing, we've needed to stop looking at things as dualistic, as good, bad. They all just are. Everything just is. And I think that's very important that people keep looking at things in that perspective, because otherwise you're going to get lost in thinking things are wrong.
Mm.
So moving forward in these next steps we're coming to, you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to be willing to change and evolve and shift. If you do not, you're going to have some troubles and possibly bodily symptoms, more bodily symptoms and things that happen.
So let me ask you this. I don't want to revert to the old style of the old show, but I got to know.
Okay.
I got to know. And I would ask you this anyway if we were just having a private conversation. We just happen to be doing that with a bunch of people watching.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, have you had, or what have been your biggest challenges um, through, let's just say, from 2020, from this last blast, when the great gift of COVID that we designed came out and produced, you know,
Yeah,
produce what it has produced, the acceleration of this awakening. But what were some of your what were some of your challenges, and how did you get through them?
I think that one of the biggest challenges that I had was family. Because
Like every light worker.
yeah, you feel they're part of our journey and they're meant to be, but we learn to love them in ways that maybe you wouldn't give the chance for some other people in your life. But the chances that you give people are out of that unconditional love, and that's the key here. I think that that was one of my biggest challenges, though, was actually feeling it. It wasn't about doing it or dealing with it, but it was more like about feeling it, because it's painful and uncomfortable. And as you're shifting things that you need to shift in your life with other people and your dynamics and everything, I think that can be one of the biggest struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, most of the time, if you're in your own space, you're great, right? Because you're just doing your thing. But it's when you're meant to be with others that's the struggle.
Yeah.
And as far as empathy goes, like you were saying, that's kind of a tough thing for some people because they start to feel the load of someone else.
Yeah. Well, it's like Ram Dass said, if you think you're awake, go spend some time with your family, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think what happens is the closer you get to the mirror, um, the less soul perspective you might say that you have.
Yep.
Okay. And, but when you look at it from the soul perspective,
Yep.
who would you choose but those closest to you in the monad or in the etherics to play the roles, to produce the triggers and the challenges and ultimately their activations, because
Mm-hmm.
we work through them.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's just so many, there's so much. I mean, to look at the contrast of say 2012 and 2025, back then, there were these people were having these massive awakenings
Yep.
and jumping online and going, "Hey, man, this is
Yeah.
what's happening," and
Yeah.
their families and all that and all that. But this time around, it seems a little bit different to me. It's coming in much faster,
Yep.
much bigger.
Yep.
It's going through,
Yep.
and I don't know. It's almost like you ever see like a horse get born and they pop out and they like
Yeah.
wobble a little bit and then they start straightening out.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is. It's the rebirth. The first time, like you're talking about 2012 time, that was kind of like the practice run before the real thing popped through. So, we
You
get to
know,
this point now, and now's the real deal. Now there's no choices anymore. The first 12 years until now was like the practice where you could learn to transmute, learn to, it was just information based and gaining the information and insight to get to this point now.
do you think? Because I hear what you're saying. I'm just curious. Do you think that the pattern of that 12 years will be the same as the pattern of the 12 years we just started? We're just in a different place, or like you said, getting prepared to do it like a preview or a
Yep.
practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's what it was, at least then. And I remember it all because I went through it too with everybody. And yeah, right now it's more like the real deal. You've got to face things. You've got to do the self-care. If you do not do the self-care, then you're going to have certain things happening to you that you're going to be wondering why. But people are trying to tell you, and that's all we're here for, right? And there's no reason to put anything like, bad out there about it. But people, you got to take the action and you got to do that self-healing and grow your heart, let it expand and open up to new and drop those old perspectives. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, you don't got to do anything. But
That's
what you
true
might
too.
want to say is that we've all had enough experience.
Yeah.
to try this other thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and really, it's getting. I hear a lot of people talking about solitude. I don't mean solitude like going away and living in a cave for a month. Just time, like you
Yeah.
said, self care,
Mhm.
pulling in everything, integrating everything, grounding, whatever you want to call it. Because it's a lot. It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And it's almost like nothing from yesterday, as magnificent and prolific as it was, it's not applicable today. Like today's a
Right.
whole new place,
Right.
a whole new set of eyes. And I like what you said earlier about the synchronicities, because that seems to be a big part.
Yeah.
Is these things have gone from numbers to events and patterns, and they're really just saying you're on the right path, and that's
Mhm.
all that matters.
Yep.
Um, some people call it presence. I
Yep.
think that's another way to look at it. But for me, and I talk to myself a lot, like a lot of us, the two voices, and it's like the more time I spend thinking someone or something else, period, the less I'm into the flow of mastering whatever the hell's going on here.
Yeah.
Because as I do that, everything else just seems to, and I can look at my relationship with Morgan, like that's the physical, etherical example. It's just a flash or just a glimpse. And there's so many other ones, like with people like you, people that are going against the grain.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a problem with that? I mean, there's a lot of talk about masculine now. And what is a man?
Oh yeah. I there's
I can relate to what you were talking about when you were young and how you were, but there was a time like in second grade I turned. And what I mean by that is I I went full blown, you know, full blown not aggressive out of control, but I didn't, I I wasn't as soft. And
yeah.
then it came back. Did you ever have that issue? Did you ever have that challenge?
You know, I guess I most of my life I stayed softer because I was in this, I guess, the higher heart's understanding.
Mm,
That's where I operated from. Even in like high school and parties and stuff, even in that realm, I was, being kind to people and friends and just loving to everybody. And that's just how I've always been as a person. I guess there was that part of me that was just born with that and it never went away. I watched the people around me, I watched it go away for them too, and them get frustrated and angry. But I understood it. And I always try to put myself in, and it's not a try. I shouldn't use the word try, of course, but I always put myself in other people's shoes as an
yeah.
empath, especially, and into their heart. And that's how you connect to people right away, anyway. And you can know everything about them and exactly what's going on. We're open books with our energy field and our heart.
No.
And I could always feel those pains and angers in people. And I guess partly my job as like the person that I am is to help them and help guide them into maybe a better understanding of themselves.
Mm,
And so that way they're not so angry anymore. Like sometimes so much of what we need is just understanding. We just want to be understood. That's such a deep form of love and intimacy too, is being understood.
mm,
When we're not understood, that's when we feel alone. And
mm.
truly, as you know, we're not always alone. Truly, we're never alone, but we're all one. And we should act like it and be it and associate with the people we're in resonance with.
It sounds like that you work with people.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe counsel people, have sessions, whatever,
Yeah.
informally or formally or both.
Yeah,
Um,
both.
do you find that these interactions are kind of just occur in organic unfoldment? Are you seeing any type of organic unfoldment where the I don't know how you try to pursue it before, or whatever the case is, like marketing or this or that, but are you seeing it kind of a natural evolvement that's occurring?
Definitely. I've always been in the natural flow of things. And I think that my favorite saying of that is like the turtle, right? Because the turtle always makes it to the end, no matter what, even if it's slower than other people. And I think that some people have viewed me that way in my life, which is funny because, you know, the turtle still makes it, but he's not afraid of taking the path that no one else will take and taking a slower time at it. I think that mainly it's just so key to keep that level of understanding for yourself and others.
Mm, wow. The turtle, and then the metaphor of that too.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
who who that ran the race
Yeah.
gained the most code would be the one that went the slowest.
Yeah. Yeah. Except what's funny about that part is that I'm not really slow. That's the thing. Like we're so here and there and so fast, like light speed, and
Mm-hmm.
Godspeed, right? We're so fast, but at the same time in that natural flow. And to answer your question about that part of it is that when most people come to me, it's usually because they feel my heart and my love, and they do want a piece of that. They want to feel that again. It feels like home, and I get it. I felt that like that with people too, with certain people in my life. That's just how it's been, and that's soul family. That's who you're meant to connect with, and you're meant to connect to those deeper parts within you too, because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes they're a reflection of that for us, right? They're just reminding us again of another aspect of ourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like you just put a sandwich together because you just said the inverse a minute ago, which was is true.
Yeah.
The people,
Yeah.
I think you were talking about high school or whatever, or you saw it in the other people, the
Hmm.
stuff coming out, and it's there for us to see. It's
Yeah.
providing us that information, maybe a doorway or a hint to something in ourselves, as you were talking
Mhm.
about earlier, like when you were young with these dark entities and energies,
Oh, yeah.
just coming into oneness with them. It's really
Yes.
the same thing, and I think that might be for me, just as an early on, you know, couch potato philosopher, whatever you want to call it, but is the that's that's something that's going away. The unconsciousness towards our own, constrictions, our own fears, and our own this and that, and all those horrible things that we don't want to admit. They're actually just like those entities that you dealt with when you were in your childhood years.
Yes. Yeah.
They actually have information
Yep.
that's, obviously the bottom of the barrel. So it's going to
Yeah.
be super quantum.
Yeah. And that's key to your own expansion. If you don't go into those things, such as like you mentioned my childhood again, I actually did want to bring this part up because,
Mm,
when I was younger, that was one of my biggest difficulties. And when I wrote my book, Inner Child, I wrote about that in there, the ebook, because my childhood was crazy and nobody believed me. I was going through major things, like major attacks since I was a kid, especially at nighttime. I
mm,
I in my bedroom and stuff, I had dark entities in my room all the time. Not just that, I had light ones too. I had light beings and angels and wonderful, energy around me too. But at the same time, I grew up, I would get pulled like my sheet off of my bed and get pulled out of my bed and stuff. I've had to deal with a lot of these things in my life, which scared me when I was younger. And especially since no one else knew what it was or believed it, naturally they believe it's your imagination, right? But it's happening to you. And you're like, oh man, what do I do? Like, they're telling me that it's not real, but it is real.
mm. The light beams are telling you it's not real. The dark
Yeah.
beams.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean that was the struggle then, but I think it's made me strong in who I am today,
Yeah.
and it made me grow up also connecting to other people and children who have experienced the same things and not know how to deal with it, because a lot of people deal with that type of thing, and there are some TV shows and stuff where people go into those situations and help perform like exorcisms and such, right?
Right.
And that basically is all it really is a transmutation of a deeply embedded energy.
Mm,
So when you're strong enough in your heart and self as light and as source energy, like a golden embodiment, you can actually transmute it. So you have to be a pretty powerful being in your own truth and self and heart to be able to do the exorcism type of work and transmutation. So that's kind of the work that I've done over the years too.
Mm,
Yeah, but since my childhood, that's what I was leading to that with, was that it brought me to that point.
mm. So do you have you worked in that capacity with somebody, with a client, where
Yeah, with
you're
many. Yeah.
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because to me, oneness is oneness, and they all meet at the same place. So this
Yeah.
is kind of what drives my curiosity in terms of what we're doing here and the work maybe that I've been involved with my wife, and Soulogy and this and that. But like, do you like? There's always this element, or let's just put it this way: there's an element that's most present in the physical dense experience that you're standing there and I'm here. Now, if you bring in a third, that creates, the 369. There's some other math that takes over,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, we obviously create an energy between ourselves, and there's that golden child that you wrote about, that inner child, right? But in terms of like working with someone or it's in a situation like that,
Yeah.
if that energy releases, which is just a word, in your experience, is what is happening, something's being released within let's just say the sphere of that person's energy. And
Yes.
as a result of that releasing and going to where its proper place is in the balance of that sphere, that another part of them, the part that was constricted, kicks in, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Is that
Yes.
okay?
That's exactly it. And that's one part of it. And then the other part is that that's what we're experiencing right now at a collective level, right?
Exactly.
Is that that's with everyone.
That's
It's
where I
not
was
just like
going.
a personal, yeah, it's not just the personal level, but see, and my work over the years too was that exactly was I was going to locations around the world even and what in my travels and such. And I was also transmuting and anchoring in energies there as well,
Mm,
which many of us have,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
do. Once we rise, that's kind of the grid work we do, right?
But
But
it's good. It's good to hear someone, again, a young brother. It's good to hear young people telling the same story that that us old people have been talking about. But it's all been happening, and again, it's not linear.
no,
And
yeah,
and to me,
yep,
okay, so you have I remember the demographics of these communities, or at least the one I was part of. So like in let's say 2014, it's like 95% feminine, 5% male, and
hmm
it'd be like 45 and up was like 95%, right? And then like say 2023, it would be like 75-35, and then the younger demographics were starting to kick in. And the crazy thing is the 18 to 25, it was men. I thought,
right.
wow, that's weird. so so you know and then the one that's left out, I'd like to get your thoughts on this,
Mhm.
are these young kids, just newborns, 3 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. Like, there's got to be a continuation of that pattern. If we're providing a field and that we're cohabitating in a particular band of frequencies, we got to know that whatever this other energy is out here is going
Yeah,
to be that or greater. You
yeah,
know what I mean? You can look
yeah.
at it so many ways. Are you
Mhm.
seeing anything in young kids? Do you ever run into them?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm,
and I have my daughter too. I've dealt with my whole world in that as well. But
mm,
as far as just like the average kids, on the street, her friends or whatever else, they've dealt with their own, I guess, trust struggles, right, with their own families, and you can see them at a young age. That's the thing with the conditioning and stuff, the programming, right? And I think that's the most important thing here right now is for these next stages, we're going to really need to change our patterns and our structures of what we do, and that's key to our ascension, to the ascensional process anyway.
mm,
And to us being in that unity together, we have to operate in a different structure. And the kids also have to be raised that way
mm.
or taught that way. There's so much that has to change here.
Um, Yeah. Do you think we have a choice? Really? I mean, I'm not saying I know one way or the other. I'm just saying it
Yes.
seems like there's something happening that's bigger than all of us. But at the same time, our individual thoughts
Yeah.
are absolutely influential, if not
Yeah.
totally
Yep.
influential on the
You're
whole
just
thing.
instant. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Instantaneous.
it's like, how do you take well, it's like, how do you be a human being and a soul in one? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to put it in basic, like where the humans, because everything is information, but what does that mean? How am I supposed to conduct my life? Like it's like, how does this work?
That's truly up to the individual and their own personal guidance. But if I was to guide people in a certain direction, I would say that would be from the heart. And that would mean us
Yeah.
coming together and creating those structures and systems and places to raise our kids and be gathering together in these energies very frequently, if not, if we're just always together too, like some of us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and some of us are travelers, some of us do things, but at the same time, there's always a place that you can call home. Home is within, yes, but home
Mhm.
is also that connection to nature and the earth at this time still.
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
not like flying through some etheric space right now. Well, we are in one dimension, but at the same time, we're not like physically doing that right now.
Well, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right because y- the energy is the same, and so there's pros and cons of this thick density. Like this is as far as I can tell,
yeah,
with my experience and the people I've talked to over the years, particularly with the show and stuff. Uh, this is the toughest school ever, the most challenging ever, the biggest potential ever
yep,
that we've ever had as souls.
yeah,
And it's so powerful that we're sitting here having, well, we may not be having one right now, but as a whole,
yeah,
as the individuals parallel the collective, we have these conversations about the reality of the illusion.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, wait a minute, we're souls. You know
yeah,
what I mean? This
yeah,
is the whole thing. It's almost like a joke.
yeah.
But
Do you believe it? Yeah. Do you believe in what you see?
well, I mean, yeah. Is it that or is it me? And I
Right.
think I think that's what I've really seen change a lot. I know for myself, uh, in the last 12 months, absolutely every part of me dying, everything I would have thought I might have been known for, whatever, it's gone. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's
Yeah.
absolutely gone. And so I look at that energetically. I see other people doing it. I see practitioners shutting down. I see them going from this to that. I
Right.
mean, almost like everybody went into this, this, what do you call it? Where you're just suspended animation, like a
Yeah.
like a pause. And now we're coming out,
Yeah.
and it's just a whole different thing than I've seen before. I relate to what you're saying. I think a lot of people that have been in these communities can relate to what you're saying in terms of how it was. You woke up, you had a certain something, this and that. That thread's always been there, but something's happened on a wide scale.
Yeah.
Something's happening on a huge scale where it's like, how do we create now?
Yeah.
Because it's not like that. No matter how good that was behind
No.
us.
Yeah. That was the way to create out of controlling and manipulation and
Mm,
like it was survival mode, right? And once you don't operate in survival mode anymore and you're heart based and you operate from the flow and in that flow and you're just being it, you don't have a struggle with living or with abundance or with anything. There's just flow. There's just friends in your life that flow in and out. There's things come and go with ease. And I talk about this a lot, but complication versus simplicity.
mm,
Simplicity is truly the way of life if you desire to have the things that you want as far as a happy life, peace, have harmony. If you want those things in your life, then it's essential to do
Mm,
that instead of trying to control what's always happening or where it's coming from.
mm,
Eventually, people are going to keep on recognizing. I mean, many of us have, but this is just what's happening at this time with with the masses. Like we've talked about the mainstream and masses, but nobody has a choice now. It's going to shift. It's going to keep having that separation even more. And you're just meant to live the life you're meant to live in
mm,
resonance with you.
mm.
And nothing else. The things that don't resonate fall off, right? They go away. They literally repel, like opposite sides of the magnet.
Mm. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think we might sometimes forget that these famous people, be they presidents or popes or whatever,
yeah.
queens with a reptilian tail or whatever,
Oh, yeah,
whatever your stories are,
yeah.
um, nobody's nobody's getting away from this. The
No,
whole thing is happening. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
the potential becomes something huge. And
yeah.
one of the things that seems, maybe it's just me personally, because I started these men's groups. I never
Mhm.
did anything like that, right? I mean, I've seen my wife do it for 2 or 3 years with women, primarily women. I've seen the power of the group mind. If you've probably done some group sessions or a drum circle or whatever,
Yeah.
but there seems to be, for at least for me, and I have to say others that I've interacted with. I'm not saying that it means anything, but I don't think it's a minority kind of thing. It's just a masculine energy coming out of a pure masculine energy coming out, just like the feminine was suppressed. There was a part of our masculine suppressed.
Yeah.
Can you relate to that in any way? Is there anything you can associate with that? And where do you kind of stand with the masculine and the feminine, personally and overall?
Yeah, the masculine and feminine as a union within and without, the reflection of that, I would say I'll start over there, but it's very key to make sure that every aspect of yourself is balanced. And the way to do that is obviously during your self healing for the masculine and feminine programmings that we had embedded in our society. And they were kind of tough for a lot of people to break out of. And we get it. We were shoved in it and we were in there, But to break those patterns, it's about acceptance there again.
Mm,
Because if you can't accept what it was put there for, because ultimately we built the system as
yeah,
source, even like we built it all. We built it for ourselves and to experience all of this in the grand scheme of things,
I
And
believe you. I've
yeah,
always said as soon as we
yeah,
get done, we're going to wish we could come right back.
yeah, exactly. And that's the pattern. That's what happens over and over and over. You die and then you go, okay, I'll take a break for a little bit and rest. All right, I'm ready to go back now. you know, Time doesn't exist. It is what it is. Once you're in that heart-centered space and golden light, white light again, it
Mm,
feels so good. And you see again and you
mm.
go, oh, wait, all that was all correct. That was all meant to happen. That was all, you know,
And then ultimately, I mean, the code is in the experience. I can tell you something, you can tell me something, you can tell me about you, I can tell you about me. Whatever the stories carry some, like reading a book, they carry some level of being able to activate something in the reader or the listener, whatever.
yeah,
But the truth is that this is it, right? This
this
is
is
it
it.
right here.
Yep.
And I can also see the value of unpacking the masculine, the feminine.
Yeah.
What is union?
Yeah.
The Vesica Pisces or the Trinity.
Right.
I
Right.
can see that. Like there's seeing for me, it feels like there's a tremendous value to the conscious human in all his density or her
Mhm.
density, verbalizing, engaging.
Yeah.
What the hell is this? Because where do you get the best code? In the moment, right?
Yeah.
And how more in the moment can you be than to be embedded into the old/new grid, which is
Yeah.
really all the same thing.
Yeah. Which is all the same thing.
We're talking frequencies here, not
Yep.
sedimentary material foundation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're
yeah.
just
So
rising up or down.
hmm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: like, what? It sounds like you obviously were awake when you woke up when you were born, and you talked about some of the things others have talked about.
Yeah.
But um, how? I mean, di have you seen in yourself things that you didn't know were there due to the depth of the experience, you might say, especially in, say, the last couple of years?
You know, in the last couple years, I don't think that I've seen things that I hadn't seen in the past, to be honest, because
Mm,
I decided long ago to go within and to accept everything. And just no
mm,
matter what it is, no matter how deep the pain, no matter how much it destroyed me, no matter how much suffering it caused me, the discomfort, I just held my light and ground no matter what darkness was faced and still loved it no
mm,
matter what. And I feel like that was just in me all along. I was born with that. I, as the golden light, and I just continued to be it as much as possible. And I always just listened to that guidance.
mm.
You know, I feel like it's always there if you're willing to listen to it. However, some people, I think the struggle is you fear going into it because of how it feels and the discomfort that it causes you. But once you do it, you face it and it's gone. You know, it's just a temporary pain or suffering, and then it leaves.
That carries a trillion megabytes of code.
Yeah.
Um, what was your most fearful moment?
Oh man.
The reason I ask these is because a lot of times people look at someone like you, maybe even me or some other people, or whatever the case is, and think that it's a walk in the park.
Yeah. I've done my best not to make it look like a walk in the park all the time, but once you are centered, it does. But my most fearful experiences were probably when I was a kid with the beings.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah, because I there is no way that anything else would be scarier than that to me, because it's like at that time when you're so young and innocent and you're just
Mm,
this pure little child and you're just scared, you
yeah.
don't know what to do, and when nobody else understands or believes you, you feel alone. I think that was probably one of the most fearful things. I've got some experiences that you would think I would have been fearful of, but I really wasn't afraid. It was just more like they happened and that I accept it.
Mm,
So I think that, man, I guess I always told myself that I would just face all my fears.
mm,
And I always have.
mm.
I If anything makes me scared, I go for it because that pushes me through that, and I'm not scared of anything. It's just natural. I guess that's the cause for the expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate. It's got me in trouble a few times.
Well, what's your most fearful time of your life?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought about it. Um, God, I don't know. Because I had some of that stuff as a kid, you know, reptilian stuff, gargoyles, all that shit.
Yeah.
For
So
me,
you,
I
you
mean,
went through that.
it was a different. I mean, it's interesting to hear other people talk about it over the years and hear you talk about it because um, mine felt different from the way you made it sound, but it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think let me think here. I think the scariest moment was when I woke up.
To
And
realize everything's not true.
well, you kind of know, like
Yeah.
you're talking about, and I think a lot of people certainly have been on the show and probably people that watch, you know, you know, you said it earlier, like you just didn't know that everybody didn't see everything you could see, or at least a part of what you could see.
Yeah.
And then as you get older and older and older, um, but so it's always there. But I think there's a point for many people, an emphasized point and moment where boom, you got the download. Like my wife was getting a treatment, a holistic medical treatment on a table, and Merlin appeared and
Yeah.
didn't leave for 6 weeks. And
Yeah.
she's in a Buddhist state. People were just coming up to her to get healed. I've heard many, many stories like this. Mine was a little bit different, but it was just as impactful. But I think for me, the scariest moment was how else could I say this? But to be, I was dying and being birthed at the same time. That was my wake up moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I went from all these things I had in the material world, family, whatever, to literally the next day it was over. And
Yeah.
on the streets, everybody's gone. But at the same time, all these things are happening. So I don't know if that's a really good question. I don't know if the reason that I'm coming back with this answer, because energetically is really, what it comes down to, is
Yeah.
probably for me. I will say this: um, for the last, certainly the last 2 or 3 months,
Hmm.
I have died so many times,
Yeah.
like so many times,
Yeah.
and
It's been felt.
you know what I mean? Like, and yes, I'm being birthed. I don't even want to talk about vulnerable because, like you're talking about, you feel it, and that's when it's go time. But it seems to be moving to like this transparency, almost like like you see a fast action movie or scene in a movie where it's going like a train, and
Yep.
then it finally just goes
Yep.
like a tractor beam,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it feels like to me. I'm not there, but this birthing, well, I would say this: the dying, a lot like what you're talking about with your fears, is not. I don't perceive it the same way.
Right.
I tell my wife I need to walk out to the beach.
Mhm.
she
Yeah.
knows she knows I'm going to go die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
No,
I
I hear
knew,
you.
yeah.
The
Good
dying
question.
part.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we could ponder that more. But
Hmm.
the dying part, I usually say that when you feel like you're dying, it's a part of you that's dying. You know,
Hmm.
it is. It's a rebirth.
Hmm.
Because I've been there countless times, and no matter what anyone says or what it may look like, if I'm simple, my life is simple. It's never been simple for me. Like, it's just the truth.
You
Like,
got to say it. If you
yeah,
know it, why you got to say it?
yeah, I have to say it,
No,
because
you know what I mean, though. I'm talking about. I'm making a joke about all of us. But
yeah, of course, because the lighter you are, the deeper the darkness you've seen or been in and
absolutely.
felt and experienced. And to be this light, you don't think that I've experienced dark and hellish experiences and all the things that have just like brought me to the altar and made me surrender and sacrifice my entire self,
Mm,
like,
mm.
you know, I've been through those experiences and multiple times, not just once. It's like a continuous process over and over and over. The cycles, they rebirth, they come back around, it loops,
Yeah.
and everything loops until you resolve it. So you're not going to avoid it. You have to come to that resolution.
Isn't that a subject, though?
Oh, yeah.
We talk about, uh, and rightfully so, that we have the power to reconstruct our DNA, that it's in the DNA in this fusion of the etherical and the, the physical and the non-physical. But have we forgotten that in this universal code, in this universal, uh, composition that takes all these forms, how many bodies do we have? You know what I mean? And yet we have this physical
Yeah.
body containing the most dense part of it. Have we forgotten the code beneath the code, beneath the
Yeah.
code, beneath the code?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe ascension is just a name we give to let's not wake up too soon. Because then we got to go back and think of a new world, and do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're headed to that point where it's just going to be that time of harmony and peace, though. We've suffered for too long and all the other things. And there's still going to be those experiences in life. And I think that's important to say too, because
Mm,
we're still going to go through challenges and through things, but the difference is you handle them differently.
yeah.
And that's, I think, the difference between me and, like you were mentioning, people my age when I was, as I grew up and stuff, was I handled it differently.
Right.
And I always was going for leading by example to show how you can handle it differently. But not everybody sees that until they need to. Sometimes it's their journey, their path, and that's understood too. But you
Dude,
can always,
you were way before your time.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the
with
thing.
your crowd.
Yeah.
No
Well,
shit.
I have an experience, if you don't mind, that I share.
Yeah, please.
Uh, there was a funny one, since we're mentioning age, but there was a time long
Don't
ago I
mention
worked.
age. Don't
Yeah,
mention age, man. I'm six
yeah.
three, so that's part of the 369. I should be happy.
I
It'll
know,
be a
but
good
time
year.
time for me doesn't exist. It's like I'm millions of years old, like
You
millions
know
of
what?
lifetimes.
You know what's crazy? I don't know if you know my wife. She's very galactic, very, very lit. And we've been together almost 10 years. Reunited after 37 months apart because of COVID. We're in Mexico. And so a couple of 4 or 5 months go by, and we're talking about the journey, right? Our journey together at kind of at the human level, like, that hurt and this, that. And she looked at me and she said, because I said something about time. I said, that 37 months, it almost killed me.
Yeah,
I mean, I almost I almost died. I mean, physically. And she said, time never entered into the picture for me.
yeah,
I went, are you fucking serious? Oh my God. Like, it would have been such a lighter load, right?
yeah,
You know what I mean? But we all have different proclivities and different strengths, I guess you would say,
yeah,
as we designed in this incarnation. So I block certain things, you block certain things. We create the path, and because we want to grow parts of us. So I respect it, but it was and I think that's a big part of what I'm feeling this year as we move into this year is the ability to laugh about it, because the soul's laugh carries all the wisdom I need. it's
yeah,
not it's
yeah,
not it's not making fun of anything. It's
yeah,
actually going, oh my God, this is fucking genius.
yeah,
Like, we did this. Wait, slow it down. I want to wake up too fast. I don't want to leave.
yeah. I think, like, when we laugh, I've had it where people get frustrated because I laugh so much. They think I'm laughing like at them, but I'm not laughing at them. I'm laughing at so many other things as I'm seeing them and as they're
Mm.
happening, and that you're seeing the broader picture, right? And it ends up funny.
I've known people like that, and
Yeah.
I didn't understand them until probably, in this wake up period, last 12 years, whatever. But looking back, they used to laugh when nobody else would laugh. And they had that kind of higher intelligence, like you, like my wife. I mean, like, they were getting something nobody was getting. And
Exactly.
so it was
Yeah.
like during this period, I would look back and go, man, that dude was smart. You know what I mean? Like, he was getting it. He was seeing something. And again, there's that linear thing. There's that time thing. I had an interesting conversation with a 23-year-old guy. I'm doing these, like I said, I'm doing these men's groups, right? So I have two every Saturday, one in the morning, one at night. So I go to the one at night. Um, I guess it was last night, right? And there's only one person there. It's my third week into it. This dude's not been to the first two. He wrote me an email saying, "Yeah, just come on, man." And it's just me and him.
Hmm.
And it was so incredible.
Yeah.
Like, like the to see a reflection like you, younger, in the same place, same goofy look on his face as I got. Like, I don't know nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I just know, open your heart. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And he was just, and I said, okay, so you want to talk a little bit or whatever, and I talked a little bit, and then he just in silence,
Mhm.
he just looked and said something about, you kind of got to, how when a channeler is about to channel, and they got to take a moment.
Yeah, it's the
And I
center
said,
and
and
then
I
bring
said, yeah, I get you, bro. And then, but it was the energy that really took me aback, and I was like, "There's something going on here.
mm,
Like there's another form of communication that's connecting beyond the words. I can feel it. There's a
yeah,
whole nother level of, and none of us really understand it. We can report what we're getting, and I think that's very valuable. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry about going on that tangent.
No, no, hey, it's in the flow. No apologies needed.
So let me ask you this, and again, I don't want to revert back to old questions from the old show, but I'm
Yeah,
just curious, and I think again, I think it's because it gives people contrast, like we're contrast. I'm an old hippie, and you're a young hippie. No, but like, what were like the prominent energetic forces? Uh, it might be a little bit grandiose, um, iconic symbols or whatever, or beings or whatever that were the influences in within you, because let me qualify it, because of the 4,000 so shows we did, there was probably, I want to say 50 maybe, of people that were 23 or younger, or 25 or younger. And one of the things that was not 100%, but it was the majority, is they didn't have any. It was just like a one voice thing. What was your experience like?
right. Well, I would say that it's been many parts of the whole that I've looked to. I've
Hmm.
looked to other wise ones, other wise leaders, other people in my life that kind of resonated more with me and where I was at, especially at such a young age too, was I had to look up to other people that were a little older than me. But yeah, I think one of those was also like Hay House, Louise Hay, Wayne
Yeah,
Dyer.
yeah,
I looked to them tremendously for wisdom. The leader Shi Hang Yi. He's a
no,
kung fu martial artist master. I looked to him. I looked to wherever wisdom was coming from,
mm,
whatever source or person I was seeing it from, I was absorbing it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that in. Yeah, that resonates. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's high frequency. Yeah, that's me, you know?
mm, mm.
So I just always resonated with all those types of people that were spreading that unconditional heart's love to everybody.
Well, I mean, like in regard to like, and there's no, again, no comparison, because it's all energy and everybody has different
Yeah,
experiences. But
yeah,
I'm just curious, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh my God, that never happens to me," and or I thought that would have happened to you, or whatever the case is. But like dimensional experiences where you would say on the level of psilocybin or ayahuasca, people, we have these experiences,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
probably happening all the time. We're just not plugged in. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? That seems to be an attribute in many people's, even if it was one time or two times, out of
yeah.
body experience, near death experience. Did you have anything like that? Did you have any like primary guides or anything like that?
Source. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I went within for
Mm,
most
mm.
things. I would take things in from sources outside myself too that were coming to me that were in resonance with that.
Yes.
So it was all within,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, source golden light guidance, man.
Yeah.
That's where it was at for me. I
That's a good
mean,
way. That's a good way to describe it. Like whether it's you and me talking, or you meditating, you're or reading or listening to somebody, you're pulling in what is you, what is in alignment with you,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and again, I want to say, if I interviewed 50 people over those years, 50 that were, say, 25 or younger, I would bet you that 40 of them, 40, 45, said the same thing you did. And I think that's significant. And I had the honor to also have exchanges with, I believe we had like a 6 year old, a 9 year old, 11, 12, 16. And those were even in another category beyond these people that were like 18 to 20. They
Yeah.
were like, just like, they were like billboard, like codes on a billboard, just their presence, just their energy, and their stories, because they all had, things happening and things going on, and the way they handled it, like you were talking about when you were a kid. So I think of that like me, and then the younger people like you, and then these others that are just coming onto the planet. Now tell me that's not going to have an immediate impact,
Of course.
because they're representing the highest frequency.
Yeah.
There may be some people or couples or groups that are near or at that frequency, but all of these people coming in, all these souls coming in, they ain't coming in to crash and burn. They're coming in, to get jiggy.
Yep. And they won't be poisoned, because any aware parents that are bringing these souls in, just like with my daughter, I chose not to poison her in certain ways. And also, she didn't get raised with the programming in the mainstream or with any of the things. So that way the loops wouldn't continue.
Yeah.
I was changing.
How old is she? How old is she?
She's 12 now.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you're in for, your second part of ascension's about to kick in.
Well, I
I
like
got
to
I
think
have
that
four
that
I
was.
have four daughters, and I can tell you that after that experience, when your daughter hits 11 to 12, it's a whole different universe. And the funny thing so like it would have been like 2000, mid 2013 to about mid 2016. I had my two youngest, and they were both girls.
Yeah.
So they started out like 9, 10. And then as I'm going through the ascension, I'm living in a house with these two feminines. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And we had all the trauma and all that stuff. But energetically speaking, yeah, it's a whole other world.
It is, man. I had to go through it too. And
Did you?
I like to, know that the hard part was actually over and was then, because there was just so much energy that we were dealing with then.
Yeah.
And now that's not going to be the case, because we're just in a totally different place.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to shift the way that we're going about raising them, and some of that stuff is, I guess, catchable, and some of it's not. Some stuff they run into with other people, and that's part of their journey too. Like
Mm.
when they meet other kids, they have to learn certain other lessons for themselves. They have to go into things and take their own journey too. And it's not all our responsibility every single bit, but
No.
we can embed those like nice, caring, loving, foundational principles.
Yeah. To a point. I mean, because like you got to practice what you preach and walk the talk, and your parents and your children are souls. They just happen to be your parent or your children.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know what I mean? So like the
We're all just
liberties that
souls.
people have taken with us, we have to go, oh, wait a minute, you know?
Yeah,
And yeah, and that's why I think you were talking about it earlier, with the family thing. Like, there was a point when I reached, I don't even know, it would have been 10 years ago or whatever, but when I had this meditation or communion or whatever, and it was like I looked at my closest antagonist from my perspective, not, you know what I mean? That's just my
yeah,
truth, my
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Uh, and obviously they were family, direct, ancestral lineage, and I thought, oh my God, who else but those closest to you would you choose, and would they choose to play that part?
yep,
And
yep,
it just changed everything, and that's the kind of soul laughter that that I got at the time, and that I feel that I'm able to experience a little bit more as the days go by, as we get into 2025, because I don't you know I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I'm not locked into all that stuff way out there, the Trump and this and the world and this. I realize that we're all being pushed to be present, and there really is no choice. And if you resist it, you'll probably, me included, probably pick up there in the next incarnation where you left off here. And just be, and probably you mentioned the body, because um, that's really what it's come down to now. And our bodies may not have what it takes, and we may not be able to change enough or whatever to get it there, but we probably have the potential to do it. But if we can't, we'll do it in the next one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it depends how willing you are to dedicate yourself and commit,
Mm.
and also how quick you're willing to expand, And like you said, leaving the media apart from your life is a good choice because you're not so focused on all of the ups and downs of the dramas.
Mm.
But there are symbolisms there though, and synchronicities. And if you pay attention to that stuff, you might find some other types of truths in it too. So I usually actually stay away from all of that. I don't pay attention to it. The only stuff I see is what people post
Mm.
about certain things. And, I'm aware of what's happening and going on from that higher perspective anyway, of where it's happening, man. It's going to happen no matter what. And
That's right.
you've been told, you've got to rise, you've got to start loving, facing your stuff,
Yeah.
and let's do
Yeah.
this together. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
We're here for each other. We don't need to be so separate anymore.
Well, be here for yourself. Let go or
Yeah,
be dragged. It's
that too.
you. It's
Yeah, of
you.
course.
It's all you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Mhm.
it's weird. It's weird because the parts of us that are dying are the beloved human aspects,
Mhm.
the greatest teachers we've ever had.
Mhm.
Yet we just found out, it's a game. They're not real, but they're
Yeah.
endeared in us,
Yeah.
and they will come with us. And
Yeah.
that's like the newest universal code.
Yep.
That's it. I said for years, we're the boots on the ground. So you can tell me this and you can come in here and I can have this
Yep.
apparition. But I'm the boots on the ground. You're the boots on the ground. We're going to have a say here. And I feel like that, what you said earlier about the simple and the complicated, and how you just said right now, everything is symbolic or metaphoric. Well, if you look at the energy of the internet, and even being in these social media platforms, even if you're just on Facebook, you know what I mean, or whatever,
Yeah.
um, it's all there,
Yeah.
and it really is. And you know, let's snap our fingers. We've got no internet ever again.
Right.
Where are you?
Yeah. Then what do you
Yeah.
do? What happens?
Well, no, I don't mean in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you said a minute ago. We've had enough warnings, or whatever. You know what I mean? Why would they be in the air?
Yeah.
Are we the greatest civilization? Are we the only thing? Come on, we're just the
Nope.
drop in the ocean, but we're the fucking ocean, right? So that's what always brings me back. Like I was telling you, I've been reunited with my wife since June the 10th. We were in Canada for 33 months. We had to meet in this park from each side of the border. We couldn't spend the night together. It's a long story.
Uh,
Came to Mexico, and we've been here 6 months. And she had to leave because she had to go renew or requalify to come back in. It's a very common practice. You can go for 6 months, you got to leave, come back, and then you're good. Me, I just have my own rules, universal law. But my point is being apart, right? Even if it's just in the linear time block of 3 days, like it's the same thing I went through for 37 months. And
mhm.
like you said, I've made a different choice.
Yeah.
Now I'm just giving an example of of a human experience, but look at what you're talking about, the energetic, the symbolic, the pattern. So
Yeah.
that's going to carry over it into what in another year?
Well,
For
those
you,
systems are
for me, like anything could happen.
Well, yeah, those old systems have been collapsing for a while, and it's just needed to be a process and step by step thing that's been done in certain ways, so that way that other things didn't happen, because things can create immense feelings and panic, and you know. So I think that, yeah, it's just been the slow leaks of information, the talks like you and I right now that are helping others like come to those awarenesses again, and they're really key for people to get out of that old programming that we were so caught up in. And
Mm,
there's still things fading. I mean, it's going to keep fading until it's all actually not where we're operating.
yeah.
On the in the golden age, we just are. And like we've been saying, not linear time. We're operating in moments. We're
Yeah.
we're momentary. We're operating now.
So
And
I feel
until we're
like let's take a let's go together. Let's go through a portal right now. You and
yeah,
me. You and
sure.
me. Timeless beings. We go through this portal. We're on the other side.
Mhm.
We're at the yin of the yang, right? The yang of the yin. Wherever we're
Mhm.
at now, whichever one it is now, we're at the opposite end. And we're doing a podcast in the year 2000 years before, 2000 years later. And we're saying the same thing, but we're talking about going into the dark age, to the opposite.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I mean,
because
what I'm
that's what
trying
it
to
looks like.
well, what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say is to me the key would be like to be in the same place in both situations. Not that that makes me, but just because it makes the ride easier. So like I'm like a minute walk to the beach here and to the bay, and I walk out there, and I got this little spot, and I'll sit out there for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever,
Mhm.
and connect to the mountains, everything. It's the most picturesque. But one of the things I do several times, if I'm there like 3 or 4 hours, I'll do it like 5 times. Is to look across the ocean and see a mushroom cloud
Yeah,
and a tsunami coming at me. And
right.
I'm like, I want to be in the same state at all times. Like, what would you do? Oh, I'm going to run home, grab my wife, jump in a bed, get naked, and we'll just go out that way. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like to me, it's coming down to that. Like we're talking about these things that are we're being confronted with.
Yeah.
Let's not forget apocalypse. The etymology of it means unveil.
Yeah.
And what's really unveiling
Yep.
here? The world, which is
Mhm.
our reflection, our mirror, or us.
Yeah, I mean, it's the uncovering. I mean,
Mm,
I always like to say you cannot hide from the truth, because once the truth penetrates and the truth is everywhere, you're not going to be able to avoid facing anything
I
that,
know.
you
You
can't
hear you
avoid.
hear light workers talking about that. They'll be like,
So,
"Man, they came in." And I'm like, "I don't want to do this."
yeah, but
You
that's
got a
the point.
choice.
Like, you can't resist and fight. You gotta move forward. Yeah, the apocalypse of the uncovering, yeah, the unveiling. We've gone through many apocalypses.
Oh my God,
So it's,
we're endless. It's
yeah,
endless. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
endless. But at the same time, I love Joseph Campbell. I mean, I've said that for years, but I love when he says, "If you don't get it here, you won't get it anywhere." Eternity is not a time. It's not a place. It's right here. So when usually when I get up in the morning, and certainly if I go to the beach or I have a moment, that's where I go.
Mhm.
That's my first gratitude is thank you for letting me be here right now.
Yeah,
Give all
and
of
that's what
it.
matters. Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
what
mean?
matters.
Yeah.
I think like this is one thing where an area that people get lost in a lot is like they go down the rabbit hole, right? And they learn
Mm,
all this knowledge and information. But then so you go out, say like imagine that toroidal field, right?
yeah.
You go out in those outer edges for the expansion, just like you were talking about with Vesica Pisces. You have your center and you have the outside parts. You
That's right.
go out and you always return to center, It's also in the infinity symbol, right? You go
Yeah.
out, you come back to center. You go out, you come back to center.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't mean that all those other things are also necessarily the one and centered truth, right? They're just other parts and aspects that remind you. It's like the contrast to that center.
Yeah. It's like
So,
taking a you see these pictures of like people on on social media, and they'll have like a collage of like 100 people's faces, especially like those. I'm not making fun of them. I swear, I'm not being blasphemous. But like the light worker conference, and they have all these faces. Every one of those faces is the same face. So, and it's funny you bring up the toroidal field because it's been big on my mind because I'm in this experience, which is multidimensional, with this incredible woman, right? And there's deepness. I mean, beyond deep, whatever.
mhm,
But my point is that I saw that. I've seen this, and it's like one's going one direction, and the other one's going the other direction,
mhm,
and they come to these points where they're in that spine, like the
mhm.
butterfly spine of the Vesica Pisces, and it's you can't even contain that. You have to go around the horn because there's no way you can maintain that. And so I was having these experiences. I was holding that, holding us, holding that, holding oneness, holding unity, holding union, whatever in my field and in my third eye. And you see that it's all just one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's never, so going back to what I said, she left for 3 days. I struggled for a few days. It came in like beforehand, like 5 days beforehand. I had to go to the beach, and I'm like sitting there. I'm going, man, what's wrong with me? Abandonment issue, whatever. You try to deal with it, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then I got to that point, and I thought, you know what? That's the stupidest goddamn thing I've ever fucking heard. You can't detach from anything because you're always
Yeah,
connected. And who are you more
yeah,
connected with but that which you hold in your focus? Just
yeah,
like, and
yep,
again, you go out from there to family, to community, to world, to universe. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah. You're not going to be able to ignore that thing. And I think like the important part about even Vesica Pisces is that eventually, like that actually becomes one.
yeah,
It's like the two atoms becoming one because that's just one stage.
yeah,
So we don't stay in like that Vesica Pisces pattern forever. It's just one stage and part of the journey.
yeah. That's
Eventually
that,
it's
and
in
that
harmony and it's one.
that's how I see it. I see, even though we can look at the Vesica Pisces or we can look at the infinity sign, okay, or the what is it? My wife has it on her necklace. It's the triple infinity. So it's the Trinity is infinity. I forget what it's called. Um, but those are really still two dimensional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
The drawings are two
what we're
dimensional.
talking about, we're calling a toroidal field.
Yeah.
This motherfucker, it's not like it's like a sphere,
Yeah.
and it's got like, like a zillion points of what nodal points that are all projecting illumination, creating this and then that and then and I think for me, and for me, when I break it down, it's like, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be with? And just simple, like you said, simplify it.
Yeah.
And behind or with that is this. I don't know if it's I don't really use the word hope, but I would say like hope, like possibility, because some of this for many of us, it's others have said this too, that it's coming in that we're affecting all timelines and dimensions. I really believe that. I
Yeah.
really believe that that which was at the bottom of the totem,
Hmm.
how everything flips, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. There's the
Actually,
flip.
if what you do in the densest environment, be it a moment or a lifetime,
Hmm.
the choices you make, the light you hold,
Yeah.
it affects the entire universe. I really believe that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Because we are the universe. We are it, right? We just are. And the physical body, sometimes we get caught up in thinking we're just the human. you know, and it's important to realize that there's so many more parts of ourself. And sacred geometry, yeah, it's more like 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. But then once you get into like the more formless aspects of like the other parts of the higher dimensions, it ends up fifth dimensional plus,
Yeah. It's like the chakras.
yeah.
I don't think we'll be talking about the chakras in 5 and 6 and 7. And I would say, I don't even, let me rephrase it. We don't talk about the chakras when we're communicating in these other dimensions, 5,
Yeah,
6, 7. You
yeah.
know, it's so there is, there is like a almost like a primitive composition to our construction of a matrix to allow us to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
But that's now, kind of merging,
Mhm.
with uh, the frequencies that, like, say for instance, with you carried in a bunch of stuff that never left your mind per se, and there's
Right.
many like you. So
Right.
that and other people with their own purposes are building, you might say, this new grid. Well, there really, for me anyway, there's not really a new grid. There's not even an old grid. There's this thing we created that has a grid that we're, as you said, transmuting or transforming and
Exactly.
renovating.
Mhm.
And I do think there's an element, and you've spoke to this, but I think there's an element, and it's not a bad thing. And maybe it's that bifurcation that everyone sees, just like the solar flash that never comes. Uh, but it's like it's happening. We've given you enough heads up. If you don't make it, it's okay. The mother's still going to catch you in her arms, and you're going to start again. But here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the solar flash, who says that it's, going to be seeable by your physical eyes and that it's not already happening right now as the divine awakening and solar flash of golden energy?
Hmm.
Like that energy penetrates everything in this realm regularly. And same with the Earth's Vril energy and the Emerald Heart energy. And that's why in these recent times, we've also seen the Northern Lights as well. A lot of people have their own perspectives of that, but it's still synchronistic along with the Earth Heart energy and the fact that it's going to touch more places and more people.
Yeah. Well, I think when people, as I want to say this, let's be conscious of our words, because our words are our thoughts being put out, and from the point of the thought to the voice, there is a possibility of dilution or distortion or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I just
Right.
had to add that.
Yeah.
But in terms of you know, I think we kind of know, like we said, all these things, like in the 90s with the new age, and then 2012 was a big one,
Yeah.
right? And all this information came in, and all these people were getting these downloads. I mean, we had people on the old show that dealt with elementals on a daily, unicorns in their room, and the angels, galactic, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. And I respect everybody's reality, and I believe that that's part of it
Mhm.
because it's all relevant. But to be here now, something seems to be off. And what I mean by that is, like, whatever projection was playing, it doesn't have our attention anymore.
Right.
And what happens if we stop locking into it? What happens if we stop going up and down for an hour on TikTok or Facebook? And what if we just get away from that? What if we just put our work out and say, fuck that, I'm not even going to look,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think
Yeah.
about the energetics of that.
Oh yeah, and actually we've had recent experiences where that's happened, right? And during COVID was one of them where we had days without power completely, right?
Mm,
Where they shut down the energy grid as far as the electrical grid,
mm.
and basically the energy shifted instantly, right? And you could feel it. Like it was amazing. Like the quietness there was no other EMFs and other frequencies, and you could just see it, feel it, and it was just so silent. And it was great. It actually also made people realize that, oh, maybe I should go outside. What's everyone else doing? Oh,
But
what,
COVID,
you know?
COVID. I remember we were in. We had been in Hawaii, and we got called to the continental U.S. And at the same time, we were asked to come do a conference in Florida, right? So we drove from the corner or Washington State to Florida, and we go down there, and somebody offered us a place to stay, and COVID hit,
Yeah.
and right away, my wife got it to the point where she said, "Here's my last wishes."
Mm.
Dude, I mean, it was like a 18-hour ordeal, but it was, you know what I mean? It was that intense. And I think it was that intense for everybody. It was a
Yeah.
huge energy.
Yeah. Of course.
And then after that, she came out of it and said, "Oh my God." Because like I said, she's like an oracle. She's like a channel. And she said, in the middle of like the human experience, she goes, this is the greatest gift we ever created. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
because
It is.
you look at the story, but the energetics of kids were left, kids stayed home,
Mhm.
found out what it was like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People were having to stay home that live in the same house that never communicated and they were forced to. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like there were all these things
Yep.
that happened at a very local level that were far greater than stand 6 feet away and wear a mask or you can't
Yeah.
come in or you know what I mean. I remember seeing I remember seeing like this he wasn't Hell's Angels but he was like it was in Arkansas
Yeah.
and he had this big ass chopper with a vest and he's got a tan, he's got these bulky muscles and stuff and a leather a leather mask on as he's driving down in the free air on his motorcycle. So
Yeah.
but you think about the energetic impact of that, and that's where I go back to what we were talking about earlier, and what what I feel from you, and those. And again, I don't want to get linear here, but it's nice to see it. It's nice to see the connection, are bringing to the table. It's a higher frequency that's beyond the programming. That's like the God seed or the goddess seed or something. It's something
There you
that's
go. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
it's
now
something
you're
like
talking.
these
Yeah.
kids, potentially,
Yeah.
these kids could be teaching us.
Yeah.
But they won't teach us if we're not open to their code.
If you're trying to control them. Yeah. If you're
Yeah,
trying to control their code with your,
yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And that, that's where I've been with that is that I've been just as we've been sent here to be those divine golden blueprints and the new templates for the earth and to integrate this into society and into our world. And I've been excited the whole time for it. I this is like what I want to do. I want to make sure that this stuff happens and that we're all in resonance with that. At least the people that are meant to.
yeah.
We're all
Well, I
there
mean,
together. We're all there together.
there's so many different narratives. There's
Yes, there
so
is.
many different stories, and when I go out and connect, or when I'm with my wife and we connect at night, part of my process to get me to where I want to be in the conscious human awake state, I would describe it like that, is to go to a place where everything that's occurred up to this moment is gone. The only thing that remains is the experience. So
Yeah,
that's what I have. For me to go out and grab anything now, whether it be love or hate or prejudice or bias or righteousness or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if it's me.
right,
Because the last thing that I think died for me, really, to put it in very general terms, I don't know if people can relate to this, I'm not a practitioner, but the wounded healer.
right, right.
What is the greatest thing I could do? Would it be to heal someone else or serve something else or serve myself if I can find that bullseye where serving myself is the equivalent to I'm serving her or him at the same degree and the collective. All three are being served
Yeah,
equally, and that's how I see it now. And I know
that's the
that's
parallel.
not easier said than done, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
And I'm not saying I'm doing that. I'm saying I feel like that's what's coming in that's not going to be denied.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's like that makes me think of the parallels between people because we like to think we are separate from other people sometimes and have our own identity, but sometimes what we feel inside of ourself is going to be a connection to another person, and we're
mm,
meant to connect to them and also either cut cords or heal something too. And there's more than one purpose behind that. There's so many different ways that can go. But sometimes it's just like this. You're simply on a podcast with somebody, and by healing yourself in an area, you're helping heal others too, right? So there's
what
so
happens at it happens at the same time. That's the
yeah,
whole thing.
exactly. It's
If
simultaneous.
it's legit for yourself, it's literally
Hmm.
simultaneously, uh, you know, sent out. I mean, it's or received or whatever or available or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you said something earlier. I was. I'm going to keep you a little bit late. We're at 95 minutes.
Hey, we're fine. I'm good, man. I'm enjoying
But you
it.
said something earlier that, I told you earlier that when I came out, on the linear timeline, onto Facebook, or that's really where it started, Facebook and YouTube,
Mhm.
2012, 2013. Um, there were, and I didn't even know what the word empath meant. You know what I mean? But there was a bunch of empath groups
Yeah.
and support groups, and rightfully so. And there were some other dynamics that I was telling you about. Um, it it took me a long time to figure out within myself that the power, and actually my partner told me this, but I never could actually get it for a while because you have to experience it, right? You have to come into it in your own, and that was we all feel. Like,
Hmm.
who's not an empath? Now, we can look at somebody who's really shut down in the other polarity, but and I know that beneath that empath is there, right? But my point is, it's easy to identify with that. What I didn't understand was how that could be transmuted, like you said, or transformed.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and it was based on the same thing that you said, which was until you can put yourself in that person's shoes per se, or like you said, in their heart,
Hmm.
because that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it can be real complicated,
Yeah.
but there's only one heart right
Yeah.
there. You can go right there. You can access their story.
Right.
You can feel, oh, they were a pedophile. Well, what happened to them? And
Right.
what happened to the one that created them? And
Right.
you know what I mean? So there's all this information that can equalize in the moment, and you said it. It's
Yeah.
it's it's the true meaning of empathy to me.
Yeah. It is because it puts you in the place of, that understanding for somebody and their story and their path. And
Mm,
oftentimes that instantly starts to transmute the things within them because they've been actually calling out for help or needing to be heard for a long time. And sometimes they don't even recognize how much until the moment comes. And then they go, wait, that totally like shifted some things for me. Because it's
right,
all about perspective. And when you can, sometimes people come into me too, it's just about simply like right away they're faced with what needs to come out right away,
right, right.
so that could be an emotion, it could be a thought process, it could be anything, so that stuff comes to the surface with me usually with anybody that's coming to me or to work with me,
Mm,
and that's what ends up happening right away in my presence.
mm,
Yeah, I think that's been one of my gifts and abilities, and the reason that I do have it is because I have such a deep empathy and deep love for everybody. I love everyone, I love all. I Even no matter the hatest being, the whatever you want to call it, the darkest, whatever, there's always a story and a purpose in everything. And there's no reason to hurt yourself by hating on it, being angry at it, or even arguing with it.
mm.
You know, you gotta kind of really sit back and say, hey, let's look at the bigger picture here. What's happening?
Well, now I think too, we'll wind it down. I don't want to keep you all night, but
Hey, it's
but
fine.
this thing with because one thing is that I would say probably 20, well, it's accelerated as time. so to speak, has gone on, but it seems like 2024, and certainly whatever this is, 19 days into January 20th, um,
Well, tomorrow's
uh,
a big day.
January 2025. Yeah, things are moving extremely fast,
Yep.
so fast that you don't even have time to put the information out or even have
No,
a conversation about it, because by the time you spit the words out, it's not even relevant because
no,
all
it's not
this other
relevant.
stuff's
Yeah.
come in. It's and it's a bit what well, yeah, challenging to the human if it goes into that analysis to the degree where it becomes too complicated, and then we have all the loops, right, that you were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
but but
The
but
yeah.
but my point is, it feels like, and from what I can gather within myself, with my partner, and even over the last year, with because I haven't been on like I was in the previous 12 years, um, it's coming into the body.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the body earlier, and I value your intel. How, because I mean, it's a difficult subject, because people are like, oh, I want to be a carnivore and I'm a vegan and da, da, da. And we know that we got to get past that judgment, and what's good for a person is good for a person. We have to respect and love that, right? But in terms of what you know within your being, like, is the body on point now? And how has that, or what is your take on that, whether you feel the same or not? uh, how are you handling this energy coming in at the frequency and speed that it's coming in?
Oh, for me, it's just very exciting. On like, because I've been in it for a long time. Honestly, just I've really been holding the space for it the whole time in the same energy that's hitting right now. Like for me, I imagine myself as the sun, as the one that's actually sending all that golden light, penetrating, everything around
Okay.
the earth.
Okay.
And
So you're because a lot of people can relate to this. I'm looking for answers. I'm not looking for, it's all got to be decided here. We've established that. And I really want to dig into this for a second.
yeah,
A lot of us can relate to ex- um, feeling into our energy that's far beyond our human body, doing things in the multiverse, in the astrals, and so on and so on. How do you, or do you even have an issue? Because maybe some of us older people do. But how do you do that and stay present in your body right down to the last atom? You know what I mean?
that's
Physicality.
yeah, that's a really good question, and I love it. Mainly, it's the practices that I do every day, and that would be like in the mornings I stick with my gratitude rituals, of even just lighting incense or whatever it may be for that day, Palo Santo, sage, just something to start my day and just give attention to being grateful.
Mm.
The other thing would be my yoga every day and also my gym workouts. Or if I don't work out at the gym, I'm working out doing an activity outdoors like rock climbing, slacklining, paddleboarding, something outdoor,
Dude,
doing.
you're making me feel bad.
Well,
And
so
I thought I was doing pretty good.
but this is about getting back to just like your childlike state where you
Mm,
ran around, you moved, you played. So get that energy in your body out,
mm,
like move it. Like
mm.
don't let the stagnancy, like in any organ or any place of your body, don't let it build because it's going to be really painful and bad the more that the more energy that's coming in. We're going to,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. So I would say those things, but also diet. You
Yeah.
mentioned, the diet thing. I'll just go ahead and answer it.
No, you
For,
do
for
your
me,
thing. You tell us where you're coming from. Yeah.
yeah. For me, I don't have a problem with what other people are doing or where they're at in their journey or their
No,
phases.
what's good for you though? What
But
works for you?
frequency wise, yes,
Yeah.
for me, it's like I eat from the earth and
Right.
I go for eating the healthiest possible food that I could. And I've done that since I was like 16 years old because I
Okay.
read that Bragg's water book. That was my first introduction to
Yeah.
that
And
when
did
I
you
was
see where Orlando Bloom and his wife bought Bragg's apples,
yes, Katy
and
Perry
they fucked that
also.
up? they
Yeah,
fucked that all up. Okay, go ahead, keep
yeah,
going.
I saw that part.
I don't mean
But
to throw any shade
they
on
had
anything. I
a
just, yeah.
yeah, they had yeah. So
So,
basically, I
are you vegan? Are you vegetarian?
I'm not. I'm kind of like neither really. I
So
mean,
you're
I
like
just
you're an intuitive eater. I like that
yes,
term.
I'm an
Okay,
intuitive eater, but I don't really eat meat.
right, right.
I don't eat meats or like wheat because wheat causes gut problems. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's not because you're stigmatized or
Yeah,
you're stigmatizing anything. You're just saying this is where I'm at.
fact.
And yeah, you
Yeah,
might go to Todd's birthday party in Basilis, Mexico, and they order some jumbo shrimp on the grill, and you might have a bite. But
yeah,
basically, you're following live food,
yeah. Live
um,
food. Yeah.
and I would imagine a lot of hydration.
Yes, a lot of water and also uh smoothies. I have a
Mm,
giant smoothie every day,
yeah,
and it gives me basically like all I need for the
yeah,
day almost,
yeah,
except then I can throw another meal or two on top of that if I want. But yeah, I stick with things that make me feel good. And
yeah.
I always paid attention to that over the course of my life was what I put in my body, what does it make me feel? And what do I notice like that changes in my body? So I always paid attention to that since a young age, and I still carry that with me today. You know, my I eat very clean because it's frequency. It's all
Yeah,
frequency,
yeah.
and you don't
Everything
have
is.
to eat so much when once you start getting into different
Yeah.
techniques of energy. Like I soak up energy also. Like another practice for my health and for movement is also nature, like I said. So hiking, absorb that energy in
Mm.
nature, you know. Expose yourself to the elements and integrate with them.
Let
The
me
other
ask you
thing,
this. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So
I'll remember.
the other thing would be that, and then I just make sure that I do these things because the longer that you don't, you start to notice yourself going off and you enter the lower frequency. You start to go down, you know, and then you start to realize it. So it's just so important to make sure that you do these things every day because if you don't, you fall off and you keep falling farther the more that you don't. So,
Let me ask you this.
yeah.
I'm going to run you through some fast questions. Can you go 2 hours? We got another 14 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay, cool.
totally fine, man.
Okay,
Time ain't no thing.
yeah, because yeah, let's run with it. So, regardless if you watch the Human Resonance or the Solar Flash or blah blah blah, whatever, it's. I think we can all say there are definitely fluctuations in the energetic experience as it relates to us in the etheric,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
et cetera, the emotional, the mental, the physical, boom, 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 boom. Okay. Regardless of who we are, age, whatever, it doesn't matter. Um, how have you found anything that you've had to adapt to? Have you had anything occur within your field in the physical body, for instance, that had to be addressed?
All the time. Of course. I
Okay.
always did. You know, I went through processes with everybody around me too that made me do that. And I was brought through even all of the courses of like each disease and sickness as well as part of my training and journey. I went
Now,
through that.
was that self, self obtained? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but were you following a certain modality or practice?
Yeah, I mean that was exactly the point of it was mastering the frequencies of what we put in our body and what we feed ourselves frequentially and all of it, you know, from the sun, from the earth, from
Mm,
the food,
mm,
from the emotion, from our energy, just everywhere,
mm,
mind, body, and soul, and heart, and the environment that we're in.
mm.
I did, yes, have some experiences that were where I had to go through that stuff, and but see, I was guided and told during those times what I was going to go through. So like I knew what I was going into and the purpose behind
Yeah,
it.
they always tell you that, but
Yeah, and I wasn't
it's
going to
not.
be there forever anyway. I was
Yeah,
just going to
but they
go in.
don't tell you
And,
exactly how deep you're going to go.
yeah, yeah. Well, I went as deep as you can go,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course. Yeah. Um, Okay. So just okay, I'm just curious because everything is energy. I understand. We understand.
Yes.
Consciousness. Things can have a consciousness.
Yep.
That's another way to say it. I'm just curious though, because your feel for me anyway, obviously, and I can relate, is very organic. There's no way I could have uh, survived the last 13 years without nature. There's no
Yeah.
way, you
No
know.
way. Yeah.
But have you had any type of galactic interactions? I and what are your thoughts on um, those type of experiences, be they elemental, galactic, etc.?
What about those experiences? Because I'm always
Me,
operating in
well,
those
I would
places.
say, okay, okay, well, that's good right there. So your consciousness is actively um, interacting.
Yeah.
Okay, and this isn't bullshit. I can feel your energy.
Yeah.
It's a consideration. It's part of the makeup of
Yes.
your experience, even though you're located in the human body. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Part
Do
of
you
who we
have?
are.
And I'm just curious. These are just like person, like me and you were just talking, having a beer or whatever. So, like, have you had, let's just say, louder past life, future life, monadic, soul, galactic, elemental, etc. connections? Anything that's really kind of stood out that was like, oh my god, that's a little bit more dear to my heart than anything else. That felt like the mother, or that felt like family.
Yeah. I would say countless ones. I
Okay.
I have experienced like all those different aspects of self and gone into them and been taken
Mm,
to them, and
mm,
I've explored in a lot of areas, and I would say the one that I resonated with the most was the original golden templates of the Lyrans. You
mm,
know,
mm,
the Lyrans and the Galactics in that way. Yes. I mean, at least for me, I've been part of like the Galactic Federation ground crew here forever. That's why we
mm.
were put here and came here, right? Was to do this and experience this and all that. Despite all of the other perspectives and corruption that have tried to topple it all. But
Well, for every, you know what I mean, it's all yin yang, right?
yeah,
It's all like COVID in the back. I want to say that, but it's all like the COVID episode. There's two parts to it. It just depends on. Well, really, we're the whole, right? I mean,
yeah.
we're
Well,
if
and that's why
you,
all
yeah,
beings. I
yeah,
communicate with
yeah,
all beings and all from all the different dimensions
yeah.
and just
I got you.
everything. And
I
as
got you.
source, you're one with all of it, right? So
Have you felt? And I'll just quick backdrop. Okay, I told you I went to Canada, or I went to Washington State because I couldn't get into Canada to meet my wife in this park on the border. She was in Canada; she couldn't get into the U.S. And every night I would go to the bay there. It was a small bay, smaller than this one out here. And one night these seals came. It's like 25, 30 seals came. And it was, I can't prove it, but I can tell you, it was a huge, huge experience. And then down here having some interactions with, well, let's just call it animal kingdom, right? Be it ocean or not. Have you noticed an uptick in the, and I would say even specifically mammals, all right, but animals in the last few months? It to me, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. It almost feels like to me, and I know this is going to sound weird, that we use the term human, okay, like we're human, and that's a
yeah,
monkey, and that's a
yeah,
dog, and stuff. Almost like the term human, or there's another term that includes all mammals and maybe even all animals. Like there's this thing that I'm picking up on, that we're the same as them. Like, you know what I mean? But it's at a
exactly.
really deep level. Anyway, that was a little extended, but what's your take on that? Are you feeling the organic
Yeah.
like come into the forefront in a way? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. For real. I
Mm,
mean, To me, I feel one with all of the creatures and
Mm,
beings of the entire earth. And I think that at this point, we're all feeling it.
I
And the
believe you.
integration of people actually connecting with animals as equals as well is important, because they are, and they're sentient beings, and they live in their way that's a little bit different from ours. However, that doesn't make them any
They have
smarter.
it. They have a soul. They have a
Yeah, they
soul.
have a soul, and
Yeah, they have a
they're
soul. Yeah.
actually way more tuned in than many humans have been. Humans lost sight of it.
I think we were the. I think we're the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
think
exactly.
we think
Humans
we
need to
have
match.
dominion, but we're actually. They're all going, man. We're waiting on your ass. Hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. Humans are the ones that needed to match the frequency of nature and the animals
Yeah.
and the earth. And for me, I mean, I had a vision a long time ago of, the earth and all of its inhabitants behind me, in this
Mm,
vision and image. And it was just, they were all with me and one with me. And that vision was so powerful because it just showed me who I really am. In that moment, even like I said with the Lyrans, it made me feel like the king, like Mufasa,
mm,
because it was
mm.
like the king surrounded with everyone and one with all. And
Yeah, there's something. There's something about that because I know other people have talked about it. They've talked about the Lion Kingdom. Um, my friend Judith Kuzel, I think, wrote a book on it, Elysium. But
yeah,
and that seems to be like if you have like I was talking about the feeling or the the because I know it's kind of metaphor, literal, whatever, but of the animals, they're almost like the Lyran or the I don't know if it's felines or cats. It's like the direct parent. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's
yeah,
there's some, and then you see these narratives, and be they true or not true, doesn't even matter. It's like I said, it's where we're at and where we're going. I want to ask you before we get out of here. W- Now that everything seems to have occurred, we're both of the same thought that there was a 12-year period basically from December 2012, boom, and
yeah.
now
The
we're in this new environment. And the bottom line of of life, of creation, is to create.
Yeah,
Um, what are you? What is it that you want to create personally, for yourself, for the world, and everything in between? What are your dreams as we land in this virgin territory?
well, I mean, yeah, you would say, yeah, it's virgin, but for me, it would be about what I'm already doing,
Mm,
but on an extended scale with others, which
mm,
is getting back to our true nature as the human beings we are, and connected with nature, connected with the earth, the sun, with our hearts, and operating in that regard and in that way. I
mm,
think that there's going to be a lot that needs to shift to get into that point still, but it's rapidly happening. And
mm.
we've been on this wonderful journey. And I guess what I see as far as with long term is us having a lot more connections and gatherings and such together in a safe, sacred space, and nothing but that, you know?
Yeah. So your dream is essentially to I would say probably like initiate, attend, experience, and interact in these fully present uh,
Yeah.
occurrences or experiences or get-togethers or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's really it.
Yeah. And ushering that in.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
also, obviously, like I mentioned before, was like putting together uh, basically my big goal for years, which
There
is
we go.
going to come through when it's meant to, has
Right.
been the having that land and earth and property to for people to go to and gather in, and that we can hold a sacred container for all who want to participate and are in resonance with it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I'm
That's
big on like obviously the nudity thing, because I believe that I feel it and know that we're meant to be with nature and one, and
well.
there's nothing that
The
feels
great
like
thing. The great
that.
thing about your energy. Oh, I'm
What's
sorry.
that?
No, go ahead. There was a lag. Go ahead. Keep going.
So there's a big part of me with obviously in nature and connecting fully without clothing as well, and
Mm.
with nudity and everything. And I believe that many of us have that calling, and the more that you feel it and hop into it, you're able to realize how deep of a connection it actually creates, and that you've actually been missing that.
Yeah.
So that's a big portion of my, I guess, gathering, and even just having those people come together,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
I bet you, I mean, I would be willing to bet that if you took 100 random people, like 100 random people that watch this
Yeah.
program today, um, and you said, what is your dream? I would bet you that more than half would say something very similar. Like,
Right.
hey, man, I don't give it. Nobody, and that's the thing,
Right.
nobody owns anything.
No.
So,
Yeah.
like, what are we
Right.
even talking about?
Yeah.
We're talking about an innate, heartfelt intention that's bigger. You know what I mean? That in
Yeah.
other words, by itself, just something that we hold that we won't let go of starts to affect the physical plane.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the physical plane is the energetic plane.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and this is, I think that's really the you know the the part of what's actually happening or what we're experiencing that's different, where we can actually cross that bridge. You might say in human terms where death, physical transition doesn't occur.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that we've all had dimensional experiences. We could literally come together somewhere. You could have, let's just say,
Yeah.
20 people from around the world. I said, we're going to meet here, and it all worked out and it all flows just right. And
Yeah.
you show up in a field and you disappear like the Mayan
Yeah.
village that did,
Yeah.
300 years ago, that's documented, 400 or 500 miles from here.
Yep.
Everyone just, you know what I mean? So we don't even know. But I do feel like what you're carrying is indicative and epitomizes the, I'm going to call it the young energy, but it's really not. It's just like, hey, I didn't see you here. Now you're coming aboard. Thank God
Yeah.
we can breathe a little bit. And to
Yep.
me, that's the strongest power that we've got going right now. So the more people that connect with that young and vibrant energy, uh, well, your contemporaries, I guess you would say, how could we go wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was the point of me all along with, I know so many other people are also called to the same thing, and I've been ushering it in and anchoring it for so long, but now more people are opening it up for that. And that's
Mm,
also what many people have the calling for too. So
yeah.
I totally hear you on the, yeah, a bunch of people watching see it and then, oh yeah, totally up for that too, and want, that's what we've been.
I think that's what people want. I think people
Yeah.
want to go to a place
Yeah.
where you can live in a communal way. Everybody
Yeah.
has their own role.
Yep.
And again, we got to cut this out, but I could talk to you. We'll do it
We
again.
call it
But
our own city of light. That's it.
well, I
Our own
mean, like,
community.
in other words, can anybody here honestly tell me? And I know we all have our own experiences, different ways, dreams and meditation, dimensional experiences, whatever. I don't know of any other planet or experience that had money.
I know.
Everything was
Yeah.
just like the way we communicated.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
just so, what you said when we opened the show about duality, and here we go back to the simplicity. And thank you very much, my brother.
Yeah.
Um, the truth is,
Everything's given freely.
it's a simple, profound truth. I mean, it's really, and maybe that's what we're trying to get used to.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly about actual freedom, freedom from being connected at all to,
Mm,
you know, the
mm,
lower density in that way, and also bringing the earth into our life with that too, because we need the earth and the earth needs us.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the human is a very uh, let's just say it's such an invaluable, it appears to be such an invaluable aspect in our soul's journey. And people will talk about the hardest thing to get used to is going to be your own power.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
feels like to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even about me and you and what could alter very quickly. Pluto just did what it did for the next 20 years. All the shit's coming up, whatever you want to follow. I'm talking about the impact
Yeah.
that it has on universal infinite intelligence.
Yep.
like, like if we built this playground, what's the next one going to look like? You know what I mean? But hey, I really enjoyed talking to you. All blessings to you and your daughter and all your loved ones. I'm really honored, and thank you for coming on the second episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
Love to get together with you again sometime down the road, and I just wish you the best, man.
Gosh, yeah. Todd, thanks for having me on, dude. I mean, everything is amazing. Like
Mm.
everything that's came through, I'm sure that it worked perfectly for those involved too. And it's been a wonder and sacred connection with you. I think, I mean, for my finish off with the goal thing too, I think that obviously my goal is just to create that harmony and bliss for people in the space that's necessary for us all to operate in it. You know?
Dude, just be that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's really all we can do. I've
Yeah.
been hearing this thing from my, the big Todd, little Todd conversation. It's like, um, God, had it. Oh, the whole world, the whole universe is watching you.
Yeah.
Your, your chi,
From all angles.
but your essence is contained in the space where you're functioning, thinking, speaking, acting as if no one's watching.
Yeah.
In other words, whether no one's watching or everyone's watching, you're acting the same way. You're the same energy. You're the same being. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
In the grand scheme of things, the ripple effect that we have in that means something, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely it does. Because if you listen to people that have had out of body experiences or near death experiences, they call them, that's what they always say. They always say, I had a review and I could feel everything that I projected to everyone and everything. My wife said this, and it's profound to me, a couple of years ago, that we're having a life review in form.
Yeah.
She said something like that. And to me, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, that's it. But what does that mean? That means that I can actually tap into that information in my conscious, spontaneous, intuitive, telepathic state.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And you always have the ability to tune into that.
yeah,
Yeah. Eventually, once it's activated, you consciously start being aware and tuning into all of it.
right on.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, brother. You take care, and I'll see you down the road. And thank you so much for coming in and
All
sharing
right,
space
man.
with us. I'll see you around the horn. All right.
Yeah. Golden love, man. Love you.
All right. You take care.